Hello everyone, and welcome to my Stamina Arcanist PvP build guide. As always, I'll go over sets, skills, and give my class overview in the end. Written build will be in the description. Since Arcanist came out, I've tried at least 3 builds, and originally I wanted to talk about all of them. But then I realized it would be a lot of stuff and I'd rather focus on just one build that I currently play. For other 2 builds, I will link other YouTubers' videos in the description that I advise you to watch. So, like I said, I've tried different things for Arcanist, and now I can say that in my opinion, proc sets are the way to go. And that's why my first set on this build will be the Way of Fire. I already talked about this set in my Bosswork video, but basically what it does is it deals strong fire proc damage whenever you deal damage with a weapon. Just usual attacks with any weapon counts, but for easier and more consistent proc, it's usually advised to run some weapon skill, such as random slashes, as I use here. My other 2 damage sets on this build are Master's Maces and Vateshran Ice Staff. I played with them sometimes before, but in general I'm not a big fan of those sets. However, Arcanist gifted them a new life and now I can actually enjoy playing them, and I'm having a lot of fun. Master's Dual Wield gives us crit chance on a perfected version and adds a lot of damage to the skill Random Slashes or its other morph. It's a super strong set, which also procs the Way of Fire on this build. And Vateshran Ice Staff gives us penetration on the perfected version and deals fire, shock and frost damage to all enemies touching the tether between you and your target. Also very strong meta set for Aegis now, which deals a lot of damage. As my monster set, I run 2-piece recovery, but ideally you will want Roksa, which will give you a bit more recovery, but you will need some time to build the stacks for it. As my mythic, I run Deathdealer's Feet, which gives me around 3k of all resources on max stacks. I wouldn't advise to use any other mythic here, because Deathdealers perfectly fits Arcanist, who often builds at least partially into HP and doesn't have much mag and stun. And finally, I have 1-piece Trainee and 1-piece Druid's Braid, which both give me a line of HP, which is super useful, especially for Arcanist who benefits from higher HP pool a lot. Now let's talk about the skills. On the front bar I have Cephaliarch's Flail, Rune of the Colorless Pool, Random Slashes, Camo Hunter, Recuperative Treatise, and as my ultimate I use the Tide King's Gaze. Cephaliarch's Flail is our CC skill, it immobilizes our enemies, heals us, generates cracks, and marks our target with Abyssal Ink, which increases our damage done to them by 5%. This skill also acts like an execute and deals up to 100% more damage to the enemies with less than 50% HP. Rune of the Colorless Pool is our another CC skill and one of the best CC skills in the game. It stuns our enemies, applying minor vulnerability, reducing their damage done by 5%, and applying minor brittle, increasing their crit damage taken by 10%. Random Slashes or other morph Blood Craze is the way to proc the Way of Fire and Master's Dual Wield. Deals a lot of damage and can also be used as a spammable. Camo Hunter is here for crit buffs and Fighter's Guild passives, as well as for revealing Nightblades from stealth. Recuperative Treatise is our Magic Brutality and Sorcery buff, as well as our recovery skill, which also deals a bit of damage. The Tide King's Gaze is our main offensive ultimate, which is a very strong and fun to use skill, which deals very decent damage and have amazing visions, like pretty much every other Arcanist skill. On my backbar I have Evolving Runement, Impervious Rune Ward, Resolving Vigor, Cracksweaver Armor, Elemental Susceptibility, and as my ultimate I use Sanctum of the Abyssal Sea. Evolving Runement is our burst heal and a little heal over time. Before this skill I was using Reconstructed Domain, but honestly, after playing with both of them, I can say that Runement is 100% better. First of all, it heals you pretty noticeably, second, you don't need to stay in one place, like with Domain, and third, it scales off of your main resource. So if you are playing with Stamina spec, you will have 2 heals for Stamina and 1 shield/heal for Magicka. And that skill is the Impervious Rune Ward. It's a super strong damage shield and it also heals you if you have a Cracks active. Rune Ward basically acts like your third heal, because often you are healing with Runement and Vigor, which both cost stamina, and when you are low on stam you can easily spam Rune Ward to survive and heal a bit, and that actually helps a lot. Super useful and OP skill. Resolving Vigor is our another burst heal and armor buff. Cracksweaver Armor is our major resolve buff, it also generates cracks and applies minor breach to enemies when they deal damage to us. Elemental Susceptibility is our major breach skill, as well as it gives us a bunch of useful status effects. On this build it will also proc Vateshran Ice Staff. And finally, Sanctum of the Abyss Sea is our defensive ultimate, which also deals damage when it ends. Super strong shield, which absorbs an insane amount of damage and gives you a god mod when it's active. Now let's talk about the class itself. At first, when I started playing Arcanist, I didn't like it at all. To the point that I thought even Crow is better, and that's a bad sign. I thought that although Arcanist has great survivability, he also lacks damage. There is no burst damage whatsoever, beam is not even Templar's cheese beam at home, it's just very bad, and lots of buffs as well as Crow and Warden. And I thought, bruh, this is bad. However, recently I've tried playing this build, and I have to say, it's absolutely nasty. It's giga tanky and has super OP damage. I feel like currently it's one of the strongest PvP builds because the balance between survivability and damage is perfect. Here are the most important tips for Arcanist I can give you. Number 1. Proc sets are the way to go. Not crit, not stacking into weapon and spell damage, just go proc sets and it will be okay. Number 2. Try having, let's say, 32k HP plus at least. I think I have around 35-36k with full dev dealer stacks, and trust me, it makes a huge difference. I myself don't really like to put too much points into HP, but for Arcanist it helps a lot. First of all, with surviving. And if you can survive, you will probably outsurvive your opponent, so that means you will win. Number 3. Go bloodthirsty jewelry instead of infused. In my opinion, that's more beneficial because your shield doesn't scale with weapon and spell damage, but with HP. And as for your damage, you will be better off using proc sets with bloodthirsty. I tried using infused and bloodthirsty, and the last one is definitely better. Number 4. Runement over reconstructive domain any day. Number 5. Seafire's flail over beam and rune blades. I think that's all I have to say in terms of tips for Arcanist. In conclusion, I was surprised how much the build can change this class, from struggling with surviving and healing to being an absolute monster. Although that's how PvP in ESO works in general, and I shouldn't be surprised. I guess I'm just super hyped to actually being able to enjoy my Arcanist, because before that it wasn't fun in PvP. But now I absolutely love it. And that's all for now, be sure to try this build, and I wish you good luck. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.